We're a little rusty at this, but welcome to a new video from us.
That's right.
Today,
we're back.
Yeah, well, back.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, it's been a year.
It's been a year. Yeah.
Right?
It's been
a year.
It feels like a year too. That's how that goes.
But anyway,
hello.
Today we decided we would do a comeback video by doing the mid-year book freakout tag, which we've done every year.
Every year so far, yeah.
Pretty much every year.
Pretty much nailed it.
So it would have been kind of sad if we missed it this year.
Talking together, that's right.
Right?
Yeah, it's a little sad.
And normally when we do the tag, the books that are covered are books that we read from the first half of the year.
So it's a nice way to summarize the lost time. That was the gapping abyss between the
where
last video and this one.
Where we still somehow managed to read things.
I know, it's strange how we sort of like, you know, people returning to the office, and you would think that would sort of like jumpstart life, but if anything, it's just this weird second adjustment phase. But here we are anyway, new things.
New things, lots of new things.
Lots of new things.
The tag was created by Chami and Ellie. I'll link them down below, though I'm not sure that either of them makes videos anymore, or at least not bookish ones. I'll link them down there anyway. Yeah. So we'll get right into the tag.
Right.
This year I get to ask the questions because I'm pretty sure Maki was the one who asked last year's. First question, best book you've read so far this year?
Oh, that's easy for me.
It's easy for we have the same book for this one.
Oh, we do?
We do. We talked about this.
That's true that we did, but not in the context of this tag. So
yes.
You're watching this real time because we didn't talk about each other's things.
Answer.
It's actually Witch Had to Tell You.
It's The Witch Had to Tell You manga, which is by Komomi Shirahama. We've had the first volume for ages. For ages, since it first came out. And, you know, we were slowly collecting some of the other volumes until at some point I was like, okay, can't buy
time
anymore
to read it because
until I read it.
Right, so raise your hand if you like collect stuff, so sort of don't read them
anyway,
until later, like hoarding.
The truth is, I was really drawn into this one by the art style.
The art is magnificent. Look at all of that hatching.
Beautiful. It kind of looks a little bit like Studio Ghibli vibes. That kind of is what it feels like.
It's very sort of like an homage to like earlier 70s, 80s art that they decided to obviously modernize because I assume this is just the modern author.
Well, the story begins with Coco. She works with her mom, and she one day is helping her mom assist a, I guess, wizard. Sure. With repairing something. Except that Coco has always loved magic. She's always been fascinated by magic, and then one day she spies on the wizard that needs their help, and she sees how he does magic. Does something herself, and of course it has disastrous results because she doesn't really know what she's doing. Disastrous results being her mother is turned into stone, if I remember correctly. And so this wizard, luckily, whisks her away to go to his atelier to learn magic and to hopefully find a way to revert the spell that was cast on her mom.
That's right.
That's the beginning of this story, but it develops into so much more than that. It's literally only been, what, 9 volumes?
Oh yeah, but it's so good. And it should have been a clue as to the tone because there's just this gorgeous, beautiful sheen
whimsical
of
art.
Whimsy that turns really dark.
So it's both. It's whimsical and it's, I know, fun at some points. There's some beautiful moments.
Beautiful story.
But it also has these very dark or serious themes woven throughout the story. And Coco is not the only character that has story in this. Her fellow apprentices have their own stories. Quifrey, who is the person who takes her in, also has his own story. His group of people has. There's a whole lot going on in the series, way more than I could have ever anticipated starting it. And I love that feeling of like thinking it was one thing, getting that thing, but also having so much more come in and being like, oh no, I can't not continue. Like,
exactly. It's a beautiful ensemble piece, and go figure, it is the best book that we've read so far.
Yeah, it's so good. If you have Witch Had to Tell You, if you have not picked it up yet, I would highly recommend it. It is one of the best manga series that I've read in a very long time. Alright. The next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and this one for sure we're not gonna have the same answer, but go for it.
So I read A Court of Mist and Fury.
Woo.
And I, to everyone's surprise, mine for the most part, really liked this whole series. I have other thoughts about that. We'll just reserve that for another video. But as far as second books go, it did not suffer from whatever sophomore syndrome things, and by things I mean like theater shows and especially workshop ones, from having years of having workshop shows. Second, movies, and in this case books, it did not suffer from that at all. If anything, it was better because it just sort of like was a deeper cut into the story. So a lot of you have known A Court of Mist and Fury from Book Talk and life in general, and growing up Sarah J Maas, and of course this channel. I get the hype, and this is actually my favorite Sarah J Maas sort of like franchise, I guess.
Yeah, I would call it a franchise.
you know, of all time, I think, and with very good reasons, but also I have other thoughts. Excellent storytelling. It's about Faye, and it's about just, you know, trying to, you know, live your best life despite it. So
that's a good one. Okay, I can't include rereads because if I could, I would have included some books that I've already read and loved. Yeah. I'm currently rereading the Throne of Glass series for the second time in less than a year, just for fun, but I can't include any of those. So I will talk about a newer sequel book in a new series that I only read this year and I really enjoyed. So the book is A Throne from the Ashes, which I don't physically own. I read that on ebook. It's part of the Air Comes to Rise series by Chloe C. Peñaranda. It's so good. Like, I enjoyed book 1, really liked book 2, but book 3 is what cemented my, like, I need to know what happens in this series. Essentially, the beginning is about a young woman named Faith, and she finds out some interesting things about her heritage by the end of her story, let's say. And it kind of opens up this entire world and story. There's a lot of political intrigue, there's a big ensemble cast, there's some sort of prophetic quest that she's gonna need to go on. It's a combination of a lot of things that I really loved, and I really enjoy how Chloe has built her world, written these characters. It's fantastic, and the work she does in A Throne from the Ashes just to get it to a new turning point, so good. It's very exciting. I'm very excited for the next book, which comes out later this year. It's probably gonna hurt me deep in my soul, but that's okay. I signed up for those things, so yeah, I would highly recommend the series if you haven't checked it out already.
Magnificent.
Okay, next is a new release you haven't read yet, but you want to.
Okay, mine would be, it's not that new, but it's sitting on my electronic shelf. Legends and Lattes, a novel of high fantasy and low stakes. It's basically, I think, about an orc and some other character
wants to open a coffee shop,
wanting
right?
to open like a, or it's like a tea place. Either way.
Does it really
matter?
matter?
It's a coffee shop, yeah, because lattes, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because it's like orc barista. I'm in. Like, I don't need any other reason.
I mean, come on, it's a fantasy coffee shop. Hello?
I love the idea of it.
too.
So it is a book that I think
I do want to read
little.
the one
Yeah, so it's it was actually Kristen from Merrily Kristen who said, "Hey, we gotta read it," and I was like, yeah. And so
and
that
she'd
was,
already read it.
She said, like, we should like read this while we were playing our game of D&D, and I have not touched the book since I purchased it. Soon I shall.
Well, it started as an indie published book, and now it's been acquired and will be republished.
That's right.
Which is really cool.
Good for them.
I think it's great.
Just super awesome.
Okay, let's do it from the oldest release this year that I haven't read yet. So, first is A Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. This is based on the legend of the Chinese moon goddess. It's about her daughter. She is trying to help her mom in it. There are 2 love interests in it. That's about as far as I know. And honestly, it sounds right up my alley, so I'm very excited to get to it.
Very cool.
The next one that I'm going to talk about is Together We Burn, which is by Isabel Ibanez, and this one has dragons in it.
Oh yeah, cool.
And of course there's romance in it, and there's something about flamenco in it, so don't really need to know much more than that because it just sounds like something that I
need.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the last one is by an author that you guys may recognize. It's Julie Abe, who wrote the Eva Evergreen books. This is her YA book, The Charmed List. It's a contemporary about a girl who's trying to get through this list of things that she wants to do, and she ends up having to team up with someone she's not necessarily friends with. I say that lightly. She does not like this person. There's this hint of magical realism in it, which I personally am not against. I know some people are not very into that, but I'm excited to read it because I have loved Julie's other books in the past, so this one is very exciting. Also, just for funsies, let me show you guys. It's got boba tea on the cover. Just saying. It's very cute. And this is also a personalized copy that I got recently, so very excited for all 3 of those books.
Who doesn't love a good cup of tea?
Okay. Next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year.
Oh, that's easy for me. Bastille versus the Evil Librarians, Alcatraz book.
Ooh,
I want to say 6. Brandon Sanderson, we know what your real name is, Smedry. He wrote a book about how evil librarians have curated the world's knowledge and have hidden larger parts of the actual world from us, you know, poor little sort of like mortals. And the Alcatraz Smedry and his family are actually one of the few folks who are able to fight off these evil librarians and are aspiring to lift the veil of secrecy and set the world free from their grip.
Such a great premise.
It's really, really fun. And
it is really fun.
Yeah, and they use different sort of like lenses in order to sort of like have like exert some kind of power over like the physical realm. It's the writing to this day is the best writing ever. It's incredibly meta and incredibly irreverent and incredibly absurd. There's a review that I wrote on Alexa's
I'll link it. It's
blog.
great.
It's still
Rutabaga.
I would just agree. It is the best book I've done, I think, so far in my entire life. I think I will look back at this many books from now that I've written and still be like, that was the best thing I've written. And easily the one I enjoyed the most.
That's fair. I have a couple of answers for this one, again, because can't help myself. The first is the next book after A Throne from the Ashes, and that is A Clash of Three Chords. Very excited. That comes out in September. It is actually interesting because in that series, it's now following a couple of POVs that we did not see in the last book. And I'm dying because like 2 of them are my favorites, so I'm like, I need to know very badly what happens. Then we have Stellar Loon, which is the next Keeper of the Lost Cities book. I love Keeper of the Lost Cities. We enjoy Keeper of the Lost Cities.
We do.
Tremendously. And I do want to know what happens in this penultimate novel before the end.
It is the penultimate novel.
So I have a feeling it's not going to end in a way that I'm going to appreciate. I will probably be screaming my lungs out.
And I'll be there for extra entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. We have Kingdom of the Fear. That is the 3rd book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series. See, the 2nd book in that one also ends in a place where I'm like, why would you do this to me and make me wait an entire year for the sequel? So, I'm excited to find out how it ends. I'm not entirely sure where she's gonna go with it, but you know what? I'm just gonna ride that wave until it gets to the ending, so. Then there's The Ballad of Never After, which is the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart. Very excited about that one because Once Upon a Broken Heart was so much fun. It was like a whimsical fairy tale type story, and there were a lot of shenanigans in it, and you know me and my love for shenanigans.
Oh no, yeah, that's
such a big thing.
Definitely.
A book that is in a very long series that I enjoy, is the next one, is Archangel's Resurrection, which is part of the Guild Hunter series.
Yes, the Lady Sing.
I don't know what I was expecting for this book, but it doesn't really matter because it's part of a series that I love so much, so it doesn't really matter. I will just read it.
Yeah, they're
and
just
I'll probably
series.
love it, so.
You're right, where you're just like, it isn't like,
it could be about anything,
give
honestly.
it to me. It's just them shopping at like a grocery for like 36 days. Like,
correct. It's because Nalini Singh did an incredible job building her world, her lore, and her character, so anything she writes at this point in that world, I'm just like, sure, I'll take it. You know, it doesn't matter. A last book that I want to mention that I think both Mackie and I will actually want to read is Aliana, Girl of Dragons, which is Julie Abe's middle grade book, and this is like Cinderella but with dragons. So
yeah, sure.
Of course we're gonna want to read that, so had to give it a shout out. Okay, next question is biggest disappointment.
And the fact that I didn't even bring this book out, I'm gonna go with Dragon Watch 5. It's not a bad book. It's not a bad book at all. Like, I feel like there's so much like love and care and effort that gets put into any series that reaches a 5th book.
Yeah, that's a lot of books.
Which is ironic because one of my favorite books didn't even get like a physical copy until the author actually printed it for himself, which is Henry Neff's sort of tapestry series. So the fact that Dragon Watch got, like, this is the 10th book in the Fablehaven series, and that means there's an audience for it. So it's not, again, I want to preface this with, it's not a bad book. I was just expecting something else. It just felt like the author was going in one direction, totally valid, and I was like hoping in another direction, I want to say. So it just didn't, so it's just not a fit, I would like to think. So was it disappointing? Sure. Is it a bad book? Absolutely not. Like, I would still recommend the series, like if you're into that, because it's very, very middle grade, and it works very, very well. Just apparently not for me.
Okay, that's fair. Mine is Reading People by Anne Vogel. It's a nonfiction book about different, sort of like dipping into different types of personalities, personality tests and personality types. And it was interesting, but it was also not anything that felt really new, or not stuff that I couldn't have found myself if I wanted to look it up. So for me, I was kind of just like, it's alright. Not a bad book either, but just not like for me, basically.
Fair.
Okay, next question. Biggest surprise.
Dear.
Sorry, I'm already cackling.
This was a surprise. I mean, I was expecting some kind of, reverse Beauty and the, not reverse, but like a Beauty and the Beast trope.
Which is what it's marketed as.
Which is what it's technically marketed as. And then it went a completely different direction in the second book, all the way on through, and I did not expect to find, basically, my recently favorite found family of all time, I think.
They're such a good family.
They're really, really, really good. And so the characters in the series are, well, to me, more enjoyable than all of the other Sarah J. Maas book installments, I want to say.
Can't wait to discuss that one day.
Boy, yeah, Fandom Buzz is going to come roaring back to life soon too, and there will be quite a few conversations about the trauma and joy that I experienced reading this series, and not for anything, you know, remotely prudish or moral. It's really just a violent shift in tone is, I think, a very accurate way to describe my feelings and the whiplash that ensued from reading this book. Needless to say, it was a huge surprise that I wouldn't even care this much.
I know, right?
Having read 7 Sarah J. Maas books, and
look who's caught up.
And look who's like I read everything else in a week.
And he's still gonna read the rest.
Right. So I was expecting the same you know,
shenanigans.
I was about to say chicanery, which doesn't make sense because Selene Sarothian is anything but fake. Which is ironic that I say that because
if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. It's not what I expected. On so many levels.
Alright. Mine is going to be the Air Comes to Rye series. This is the 3rd time I'm mentioning it in this video, so you know that I really enjoyed it. Sometimes when I start a new fantasy series, I'm a little like, am I gonna love it? Especially if it's an author that is unknown to me or that I'm encountering for the first time. But truly, I am very much excited by the fact that there is a new series in a new world that I enjoy so much, with lore that I find incredibly compelling and a cast of characters that I'm like, yes, you all need to survive because if someone dies, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
Sure.
Pain. I just thought about the 3rd book again. I'm like, that was pain. But it's very, very good, and I highly recommend checking it out as well.
There we go.
Alright, next question. Favorite new author, debut, or new to you?
Oh, definitely new to me. Julie Abe.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Such a lovely, like I don't quite feel as soft on her as I do on Roshni Chokshi, who is just a lovely, lovely human being. But I love Julie Abe's writing so much.
So
Eva
delightful.
is such a lovely, lovely girl, and that I want to literally like blow up anyone that tries to even look funny.
I know, right?
I just want to take a few grenades and liberally distribute them amongst the people without pins who want to do any kind of
pins.
Right, because that's how grenades work. And don't look at the little witch who's trying so hard like that.
And she wants to do good.
She's nicer than you, so please explode in a fiery conflagration. That's how I feel about that. And Julie made me feel those feelings, and that's why I love her.
Okay, I have a couple. So I have authors, and I also have manga authors.
Oh, okay.
Those are 2 separate things.
Well, if you wanted to go that
we'll get there in a second.
All right, we'll get there. We'll get there.
So obviously, I have to shout out Chloe Peñaranda, who wrote the Air Comes to Rye series.
Sure.
Great lore, great writing. I can only see great things as she continues to progress in her writing journey. First. Then we have Rebecca Ross, who's I've had a lot of her books on my TBR, but I've actually only read her adult debut first, A River Enchanted. So surprising. That book was so good. I really enjoyed the way she writes because there's like a cadence to it, which is something I don't often encounter in the books that I choose to read. So it was fun to just get swept up in her. It's a very quietly told adult fantasy story where it is very heavily character driven. Very limited setting, but I really liked the time that I spent reading that. And then for the contemporary YA, on the older side of the spectrum, kind of angsty writing that felt really real and like I could really sink my teeth into. Kristen Dwyer, who wrote Some Mistakes Were Made. That book gave me a lot of feelings, and still does actually. It's been like a couple of months and I still think about it every so often, and I'm just like, feelings. I have lots.
Lots and lots of feelings.
Okay, but I did want to talk about a couple of mangakas, I guess is what the word is. Mangakas is the word. First is the mangaka for Spy Family.
Oh boy.
So Tatsuya Endo, who, I don't know how he did this, okay? Like, he wrote this thing that has all of this like spy action and like this big mission that this, you know,
conspiracy.
This guy who is one of the best spies, or the best spy.
The best spy.
Twilight. He has this big, very time-consuming mission where he has to create a fake family in order to infiltrate a school, in order to get into contact with someone who may be
pivotal to stopping
or starting a war.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it because it's all of that spy stuff, and then you get all of this funny, charming, just adorable
literal
like, family
like,
you know, relationship moments. It's a wonderful combination of things, and the manga is great. It is wonderful. It makes me laugh so much. Like I just, and then I also get feelings, and then I'm just
the
like,
comedy, the feelings, the fact that they're able to create like a found family on top of so much dysfunction. Is so I think the best. It flips the general like perfect family on its ear, where you have like, we're the perfect family but we're dysfunctional. Here it's like we're 100% dysfunctional and we are weaponizing that to make the perfect family.
It's so great. I love them so much.
It's the best thing ever we've seen.
That's one. Of course we have to mention Kamome Shirahama, who is the author of Witch Hat Atelier. So Witch Hat Atelier, we already talked about it. it's a great manga. That's all I'm gonna say. The story is also equally fantastic.
Magnificent.
There's one more I want to mention just because it's so delightful and I love it so much. It's actually an author duo. They go under the moniker Sue Morishita, and they wrote the series A Sign of Affection, which is about a girl who uses sign language to communicate and a guy who is kind of a wanderer, but he also is interested in languages, and they have this random encounter and it suddenly brings them into each other's orbit. It's basically a contemporary romance and it's adorable and I love it so much. So this is the other manga that I would need to shout out. Okay, next question is newest fictional crush.
I would say, well, I was watching, or rather, no, not watching, I was eavesdropping on Alexa watching Mary Lee Kristen's MidYear Freakout Tag.
Okay.
And she just looked at this question and she just went like, no. Just no. And then she moved on and I thought I could do that, but she did that already. And to be fair, like I can pick a kind of like if I had to pick one.
I'm curious what you would say if you had to pick.
If I had to, no, I sort of kind of did. I wrote it down and I really thought about it. She's like, is there anyone I randomly crush on? And it would be the Morrigan actually.
Oh.
So first of all, love Moore to death. But I crush on her when she's the Morrigan. You know, like the terrible force of like nature in battle that sort of decapitates people as she's on her way to completing the mission. That's kind of like, I'm crushing on that. That is...
I respect that.
Hello, ma'am. Good day. Like, that's my... From A Court of Thorns and...
Yeah, the whole series.
Well, she's not from that court, but she's...
Well, she's not on that court specifically.
But she is from a different court. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, she's super crushable when she's crushing people.
You have very interesting
Just me then?
taste.
Alright, fine. I like strong women.
Mine is not going to surprise anyone. The one thing we did not tell you about Spy X Family is that there's also an anime. And the anime and the manga have both convinced me that Lloyd Forger is Twilight, the spy.
He's the perfect man.
He's wonderful. I love him. He's not even perfect, and that's why I love him so much. Like, he thinks
no, he's a complete idiot.
He's just wonderful at the spy stuff. Like, he's amazing, incredible. Keep doing what you do. But in other aspects, he's kind of a little bit awkward.
Super dense.
And I just love him so much. Okay, like if I had to pick one, obviously Lloyd Forger. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Newest favorite character.
My newest favorite character, again, as I said just a few minutes ago, it would be, and this is where I'm cheating, my newest favorite character is basically a specific court within the Court of Mist.
You could say it.
Oh, the Night Court. Yeah, nobody knows.
Because that's, at this point, everyone kind of knows there's a Night Court.
Do they? Like, because I
don't know who maybe it is.
You know, between the winged Funkos that I've seen randomly strewn about, and the fan art, and obviously Alexa reading it for like several.
Funko, thank you.
Just the one, like, Lord, which
it's
one?
Not even my favorite.
Which one was that? Anyway, the point.
There's only, well, I've never seen.
There's a couple. There's a bunch of them with like. I feel great that I was not spoiled for the stuff that I wanted to not be spoiled. Yeah, I did like I did
Well, I'm
less.
really good at not telling you things.
Then again, of course, Alexa just said, "Oh, it's about a bunch of fae," and I just basically tuned everything out. So
served yourself well.
Served me very well. So I don't want to. So that's why I don't kind of want to spoil it. But to me, they are one of the best found families, and probably because they are not as dysfunctional as most Immortals found families that I've watched originals. But a bit of a tickle in my throat.
Right there, yeah.
And yet they managed to work out all of these dysfunctions over the centuries and have therefore become the best versions of themselves around each other. I adore that and will die on every hill to defend every single one of them. I just don't need to know so many intimate things about them. Ever. Again, really. It's like, sir, please put that away. I know you're my brother. So, that's that.
Okay, I have two answers for this, and I already mentioned both of them, so we'll just be quick. I love the entire atelier in Witch Hunt Atelier. Their teachers and the 4 apprentices. Love them. Would literally hurt anyone who tried to hurt them. Will probably smack the shit out of people within this atelier who try to do things that hurt other people.
I mean, yeah.
But obviously can't go without mentioning the forgers. So they're actually in the back, so we're just gonna do that.
That's so cute.
We have Lloyd, we have Yor, and we have Anya. Can't not mention these 3 because it is really their dynamic as a group, and not just what they are like individually, that really makes me love them. Like I'm just a sucker for it because they're literally a built family.
Yeah, and they just
and they don't realize it yet, but the way that they're sort of bonding with each other, bonding. It's true. Bonding with each other. No, bond because they're bonding with each other over the course of the story, and those relationships are getting deeper. I'm just like, who sweet, so wholesome. It's just,
it's so good.
I love it so much. So like, obviously had to.
Oh no, yeah, for sure.
And again, watch the anime. It's great.
Yeah, we recommend that.
It's like generally one of the most fun things.
You have to watch Spy Family.
Okay, book that made you cry is the next question.
Oh, that'd be easy. It's like 2:30 in the morning in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I mean, this book made me cry too, so.
So this is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. Again, I was part way through this, and this is what sent me down the Sarah J. Maas sort of like spiral. This book tugged on a few heartstrings, very hard, towards the sort of like the end, and it's a lovely way to resolve something. There is a relationship in here that is, oh boy, the stuff of good things. I think it's so good. And,
it's what you want, really.
Oh no, for sure. And to have that relationship front row and center, and then eventually bring that to its sort of like, you know, the end of that story arc. Beautiful. Tears everywhere. Tears everywhere.
Tears everywhere. Okay, for me it's actually a non-fiction book, which I didn't think I would say. I don't own a physical copy because I also read it digitally, but it's The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. Not the whole book. It's not the whole book, and the way that book is structured is it's a couple of essays about different things that John Green is reflecting on or sharing his knowledge on. And there are a couple of essays there that just, it really speaks to feelings I've had, or, you know, general musings about the world and the current climate we live in. And yeah, it was just something that really spoke to me. And there's one particular essay, it's the Auld Lang Syne essay, and I just remember I was like sobbing at the end of it, and I'm like, ooh, lots. But yeah, that one was, it was surprisingly good. I really enjoyed that one as well, if you want to check it out. The complete opposite direction, a book that made you happy.
Oh, that's easy. Spy Family.
I mean, honestly, that could have been my answer also.
I have not read or watched anything that has brought me so much joy and no other complications. Looking at you, Sarah J. Maas.
I mean, I could also have said Spy Family for this, but I'm going to say Sign of Affection because the entire time I read this, I was just delighted. Like, it was so nice to read something where it was like, I was just happy most of the time. Like, and then when something bad would happen, it got resolved super quickly. So I'm kind of like, it's good. I'm good. This is great. I feel great. So, you know, had to mention that. Favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year?
Oh boy, that would have to be The Fruits Basket Prelude.
That's one of my answers.
So picture this, very Sophia Petrillo. Picture this, movie theater, Alexa and myself walking into this thing, post-COVID-ish, you know, kind of like theater scene, masks, people, and we thought, all right, Fruits Basket, sure. Cut to like
I love Fruits
40 minutes in and we're sobbing hysterically.
Yeah.
Like, unbidden, mind you, just didn't ask for it. And yet
I knew it was going to come.
I didn't, clearly. It was one of those moments where like, what are we watching? Just terrible. Like, I did not expect to be crying this much. And it was just like that. Like,
I mean, I will say I love how they adapted that. I thought it was really, really well done. Like, I already enjoyed that part in the books too, but like the way that they animated it, the way that they chose to frame the storytelling, excellent, worth watching, especially if you're a Fruits Basket fan. But actually, my other two answers are also anime related, so we're gonna just roll right into that. The first one is one that Maki watched last year.
Oh, okay.
I only got to watch it this year.
Oh, okay.
And that's the Mugen Train
movie
for Demon Slayer, because one, it is one of the most beautiful
it's one of the most gorgeous anime out there, really.
Was it also emotionally stressful? Yes, it was.
Oh, Lord.
I was very emotionally stressed. And I did it twice to myself because they also did like a short anime series version of it.
Yeah,
so, you know.
Sort of like chopped it up and added
I had
like
to say
bookends.
it because honestly, one of the best like anime, especially because I've read the manga, so
yeah,
like seeing it, oh my gosh, so good.
The hype is so
good. And the other anime movie I'm going to mention is Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which
to be fair,
was also to be fair, I really enjoyed that arc. That is the first in the series that I read. It's technically like a prequel, so you don't really have to start there. You could start with 1 if you wanted to, but I started there, and I really like the story of that one. That's what hooked me into reading Jujutsu Kaisen. So to see it animated, and it's also animated incredibly well.
So good.
It was so stunning to watch, and like some of my favorite characters get more screen time in that one, so I'm just like, thank you.
That is true.
But it was so good. It was so good. I'm just like, I love that movie so much. So obviously, I had to show it.
And by the way, I appreciate that this tag, you know,
literally, I've said so many
book
animes.
to movie. It's like, you know what? A couple of movies
like,
came out from these manga. Literal manga ball. It's not even like Naruto and one particular thing where they went to this other thing that didn't exist, but it's canon now, I guess.
No, these are all actually canon to manga.
From just oh my god. So it's so good that they were able to take all of those elements from the page and literally bring them to life.
Okay,
super good.
Last two questions. The first one is the most beautiful book you bought so far this year.
Look at this. That's right. Could this be a shadow hunter writing something about her kind of dead, not so almost boyfriend?
Wow, that was really on point. Putting a. Sorry. I just saw
right.
That detail. I'm like,
what's the clue? So yeah, this is some beautiful foiling for Chain of Gold. Love Cuts Deeper Than Any Blade edition. It's a pretty edition. It's a pretty edition.
Under the dust jacket is the same cover, but it's printed on the hard.
100% printed on.
So
nothing too crazy with the end papers and such.
No.
But definitely one of those dust jackety cover things. But there is art.
Yes, which I think is in all of the editions.
It is in all of the editions, and it is one of our favorite crew of Shadowhunters. My goodness, what a it's
feelings there.
Lots of feelings. It's pretty, and we cannot wait for Chain of Thorns.
Yeah, that is the Fanny Special Edition from the event that we attended recently. Okay, I have two for mine. First is the Illumicrate edition of the Atlas 6, which is by Olivia Blake. It's stunning. It's got this holographic style with the blues and the purples, which is really good. The spine is beautiful. The back is beautiful. But actually,
how about them sprayed edges? Galaxy style.
And then in the book itself, it has the art of the characters. It has the logo printed on the front. It's just a very beautiful book all around. Like, will I ever read this edition? No, because I'll probably ruin it if I do. So, And then from Fairy Loot, we have The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, which is by Axio, which is also incredibly beautiful. I love the colors they chose. They're very vibrant compared to the original colors.
I'm kind of an end paper fan. So
and then you have the dragon.
That's the dragon.
Then,
look at that paper.
This is the end paper on one side, which is
pretty.
Stunning. There's also a design on the cover as well. There's actually, I believe there's different end papers on the back too. Yeah, see?
Yeah, look at that.
It's
beautiful watercolory goodness.
Like, and it fits the book so perfectly. So, yeah, very excited that I own that. Alright, last question, which almost feels like a trick question. What books do you need to read by the end of the year?
Alright, we're gonna out myself a little bit here. To be fair, this wasn't completely my idea, but I am committing to it to the best of my ability. I need to read this by the end of the year. See that?
Yeah.
Giant
sooner than that, actually, since that's a library book.
That is a library book. This is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. Why, you ask? To everyone's, again, surprise, I am actually alright, and I like sort of seeing things from Edward's perspective, because through Bella's perspective, we get what we get, right? But through Edward's perspective, he's just an old man who doesn't want to kill people. That's relatable, I think, for a person in their 40s. He just wants to be nice to his parents, who he owes much to. Again, very relatable as a 40-year-old sort of dude. I enjoy it. And the whole time at the start, he's just like, this girl's ruining everything. And I'm like, all right, I can also relate to that. How there's this one thing who's just like, you're old and you're just trying to get by. He calls high school purgatory. How am I not friends with Edward Cullen? How? Oh, that's right. Anyway, so I want to finish that, and then definitely The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. So this is Alexa's marked up copy. It's our little way of sort of me tracing her footsteps through some favorite books, because it's really, really lovely.
I honestly can't remember half the things I wrote in there, which would be interesting.
But V. Schwab is skilled. Boy, is she a great writer. No slouch, that one. Very Jonan level.
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
Bordering Kage. She's there. She's done interviews with Neil Gaiman. It's a thing.
Who she loves.
Which
I think is great.
She's the best thing ever. So yeah, I do plan to proudly say at the end of the year that I got through these books, because guess what? Between the two of us, I'm the one who's read all of the Stephanie Meyer books.
I know, right?
And this will be my first foray into V. Schwab territory. So with the exception, of course, of the Savage Song, which I'm also sort of concurrently reading. Which I find is a little bit more accessible.
It is.
Because it's just younger, I guess.
Yeah,
I think something.
Can I just say all of them? No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm half kidding, because it's true. I would like to read a lot of books. My reading this year has been kind of up and down with real life stuff going on. But yeah, I would probably say all of them. Though I will say I will definitely be prioritizing Daughter of the Moon Goddess, because the conclusion actually comes out in November, so the wait is not very long.
Cool.
So this is going to be the one book where I'm like, I better say something about it at the end of the year. Alright, and that is the end of the MidYear Book Freakout Tag. We hope you enjoyed seeing our answers to the tag. If you want to answer any of the questions yourself and leave them in the comments, we'd love to hear what yours are, especially for your best book or a book that made you happy.
Yeah.
I would love to know. We'll see you guys with a new video soon. Bye!